Hello and welcome. I'm Nathan, and this beside me here is a 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander, which just happens to be the third generation. And today we're going to do an in-depth review on it to see how good it really is. With this third generation of the Outlander being released here in 2013 and running through 2024, it did receive a number of refreshes. Most notably the front end here, it definitely received the brunt of the work. Now, of course, you do have your Outlander badge here at the front end and a load of chrome if you like that sort of thing. Not my taste personally. And you also have your projector headlights here with your standard LED daytime running strip, and because this is the base model, unfortunately you do not receive fog lights below. Like all other SUVs on the road today, you do have that plastic cladding here around the wheel arches, and then the Outlander adds them there on the doors as well. But otherwise, there's no real styling cues to the Outlander. It's got a pretty boring side profile, if you ask me. I mean, yes, you do have a body line that runs from the front fender all the way to the rear quarter panel, but that's pretty much it. And also, yeah, you do have 16-inch alloy wheels, but they look pretty poverty spec, if you ask me. At the back end of the Outlander, because it is the base model, you don't get the lovely spoiler that comes out a bit further. You sort of get this flat one right here, which I mean, it does the job, so I can't complain. I mean, you do have surprisingly LED taillights, which you wouldn't usually find on a base model. You also have your backup camera and of course your badging. And then here at the bottom, because this is the base model, you do not get the paint matched bottom end here. It is just the flat black. Stepping inside the interior of the Outlander, and you have an interior that actually is well presented. I will give them that. I mean, even though this is the base model, they still make it feel somewhat premium for what it really is. I mean, yeah, you don't have a lot of features, but you do have the basic creature comforts that you come to expect from most manufacturers. I mean, yeah, you have your heated seats and your infotainment system here, which unfortunately doesn't come with the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in this base trim, but you do have dual zone automatic climate control, which is quite a nice touch. Now, other things to mention, of course, yeah, you do have, plastics everywhere. I mean, there is, well, somewhat soft touch here on the dash. You sort of have this fake stitching up there as well. I mean, you have this sort of piano black trim, which I think is aged pretty poorly, and let's be honest, manufacturers should have stopped using this years ago. You also have that piano trim here on the steering wheel as well. I mean, the steering wheel here is vinyl, but it looks like it's leather anyways. You do have on your left-hand side here, window switches here on the door, and of course just the automatic here for the driver's side, but if this was the higher trim model, so you get automatic windows all around. And then not to mention here, you do have just your regular switch here for your turning indicators, all that stuff. But like I said, this is the base model. Now up above here, you do have your sun visor, of course, with your vanity light, which is nice touch. Now you also do have an ambient light surprisingly in there as well, which is kind of nice. It's like an orange glow. And then you do have a little sunglass holder up above here as well. Now in terms of places to store your junk, you definitely do have some storage here on the door pocket, which you actually fit a water bottle, which is great. You also do have your cup holders there. And then you also do have a lovely center console right here, which has your USB and your 12-volt power outlet. Now, one thing Mitsubishi is known for is their rally heritage and of course the Lancer, all that good stuff, but you don't really see a whole lot of that sportiness here in the Outlander. But the one thing you do see is all-wheel drive, and that is of course through the button right here, which is actually labeled 4-wheel drive. Which you press that and you'll get a light on the instrument cluster letting you know it's in 4-wheel drive, or all-wheel drive, I guess. But it is a nice touch, I'll give them that. I mean, definitely makes it seem like a more confident vehicle, but otherwise this vehicle is just front-wheel drive bias when it's not engaged. Now that I'm sitting here in the rear seating area, I'm actually pleasantly surprised on how much space I have back here, especially for someone who's 5'11", and that includes having the driver's seat set for someone who's my height. I've got loads of knee space here, and my feet, my goodness, I've never had this much flexibility in my life. I mean, headspace as well, got loads of it. I mean, there's no real issues. Yeah, maybe if you're, a giant or something, you might struggle a bit, but otherwise you should be fine. And not to mention, you can also recline these seats if you really want to, using this latch right here. And it's great. Because Mitsubishi designed this generation of the Outlander with a third row in mind, that's right, it would have 7 seats in total. They would make this second row here a little bit more easier to move, sliding the rear seat forward and backward, and of course having more tilt. But yes, it would be a 7-seater. It would be a bit of a tight squeeze back there, but it would be doable. In terms of amenities back here, there's not a whole lot to mention, not just because it's just a base model Mitsubishi, but because it's just a Mitsubishi at that. I mean, yeah, if this were the higher trim, you would get, vents right here in the center, and of course USB chargers, all that good stuff. But the best thing you get here in the base model is a map pocket on the rear passenger seat. And then of course, because it's Japanese, you wouldn't get the same thing here on the driver's side. But you do have storage though, on the door pockets right here. You could fit some drinks there. You do have a center armrest, which is quite nice. You do have adjustable rear headrests, and then also a light that's independently controlled from the front end. Now, probably one of the best selling features of the Outlander here is the rear cargo area. And that's because there's loads of space back here. Especially if you were to fold those rear seats down, you'd have even more space than you know what to do with. And not only that, because this is not the 7-seater, you have loads of storage space underneath here as well. Now, other things to mention, of course, yeah, you would have a tonneau cover, but unfortunately missing in this case. You do have a 12-volt power outlet on the right-hand side and sort of more storage cubbies there as well. Now, usually I wouldn't show you guys in depth on how to fold the rear seats down, but because it reminded me of vehicles from the early 2000s where it's a bit of a process, and that's involving pulling this tab here, and it's spring loaded, so it just opens like that. And then you have to pull this tab here on behind the headrest, and it folds it like that, and then lift that latch, and there you go, the seat's folded down. If you guys watched my Pathfinder review, that's very much how you fold the seats down in a vehicle that's about 20 years older than this one. All right, we're out here on the road with the Outlander, and I'm pleasantly surprised on how well it drives. I mean, I shouldn't be too shocked, but I am in some ways because, you know, it's really well composed on the roads I'm driving here today, which are just the backcountry roads, which I usually do. And it's absorbing all the potholes, all the imperfections, everything that I'm throwing at it here. Now, is it the most comfortable car? I mean, somewhat. I mean, I have driven this vehicle for quite some time now, and actually my work vehicle is actually this exact same one as well, so I'm quite used to it. So I will say that, you know, overall seating and comfort, everything is good in that aspect, and the way it handles is pretty decent as well. You know, it is not considered to be a really heavy or light SUV at that, but it does do pretty good, you know, going around the corners. Now, what powers the Outlander I'm driving here today is the 2.4 naturally aspirated 4-cylinder, which makes 166 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque, which isn't all that bad. Now, say you do want a little bit extra horsepower, you can opt out for the 3-liter V6, which gives you 224 horsepower and 215 pound-feet of torque, which is quite, you know, a jump in some ways, but it's not really worth it because in terms of fuel economy, you really do pay the price. For the sake of fuel efficiency nowadays, you really want to make sure you're getting the most bang for your buck. So the 4-cylinder might be the best option, and that one gives you 9 liters per 100 kilometers combined city highway, which is about 26 miles per gallon, versus the V6, which although seems tempting for the extra power, it does chew through gas a little bit more, being 10.7 liters per 100 kilometers combined city highway, which is about 22 miles per gallon. And not only that, you do have to put premium fuel supposedly in the V6 to optimize that power. A lot of us may look down at Mitsubishi nowadays, and I would definitely agree because Mitsubishi as an auto manufacturer, especially here in North America, is pretty, well, terrible in my opinion. I mean, they only offer 2 vehicles in their lineup, not including this monstrosity. They have the Outlander, which is now the 4th gen Outlander, and the RVR. And I mean, no one really talks about Mitsubishi anymore. There's no hype anymore with Mitsubishi. You know, when they released the Eclipse Cross, you know, that really upset a lot of people, including myself, when I went to go see that at the Vancouver Auto Show. So I do think that Mitsubishi has sort of ruined its reputation a little bit, especially in the last decade by, you know, holding on to that Lancer. My goodness, that was forever that they held on to that last generation of the Lancer, and also just, you know, not giving anybody what they really wanted. So now you're just stuck with the 2 options here, and unfortunately, that's all you have. If you were to go out there and shop for other vehicles in this range, I mean, there are definitely a number to consider. Most of them, of course, are going to be, you know, definitely more expensive than Mitsubishi. Mitsubishi seems to price their cars pretty aggressively nowadays. That's why they do appeal to many buyers, because they are just, I'd say, on the cheaper end. I mean, they're definitely more expensive than a Hyundai or Kia, but they also are definitely more reliable than a Hyundai or Kia. I do have to address the elephant in the room here with this vehicle, and no, it's not the lack of power from its engine. I mean, that's pretty adequate for what it is. It's the transmission. The transmission, although it is a CVT, and definitely is a little bit quirky at times, there is sort of a known reliability issue in this generation of the Outlander, but I don't really experience too many things with it. I mean, it does feel like a CVT, and that's just all I can really say. I mean, unfortunately, you don't really have, you know, a manual mode. I mean, not that it would work anyways, so I mean, thankfully, that's a good thing. Oftentimes when I see an Outlander on the road, I think of them as just the modern day minivan, which, like most SUVs and crossovers are nowadays. But the Outlander, it still seems like it has that capability. I mean, the one I drive at work, I have driven it off-road quite a bit, and I will say I'm pleasantly surprised at how well it does going over some really rough terrain. I mean, it's definitely not a pickup truck by any means or a Jeep Wrangler, but it still is pretty decent, at least if you want to off-road it. Oh, Mitsubishi. Although you've lost your ways over the many years, I will say your only saving grace has been the Outlander, because let's be honest, that's one of the only two vehicles you sell here in North America. And now I understand why you kept this vehicle in your fleet for so long, and especially this generation, for over a decade, because it's actually a decent vehicle. But you are probably wondering, why would I consider getting an Outlander? Well, is it just because it's Japanese and you want that reliability? Or do you want something that's not going to break the bank? And that's why I feel that Mitsubishi offers a pretty good staple with the Outlander here, being that it will be somewhat reliable and not break your bank. And as a off-roader, well, just like most of these vehicles nowadays, they're soft-roaders, so they're not meant to go off the beaten path too often. But would I hesitate to take this vehicle off on a dirt road? Absolutely not. And I don't think you should either. So if you are thinking about getting one of these, I would definitely highly consider maybe the higher trim models, not the base ES here, because it does get pretty basic with most of its features. And not to mention that, maybe getting the refresh like this one right here would be a better idea too. Now, if you are going to go find one out in the wild, not that they're too hard to find, you can expect to pay between, I'd say, $10,000 and $15,000, at least for a decent one. But of course, dealerships are going to be a lot more than that, like they always charge. But I would definitely do your research a little bit and make sure that it's well looked after, like all vehicles. I always suggest that. So I want to say on that note, if you did enjoy today's car review, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button and also consider subscribing. That way you don't miss any future videos like this and other car projects on my channel. And not to mention also watch the car flip on this vehicle as well. And until next time, take care. Bye now.